to Let's Talk 716 Sports. Today I'm with my co-host Jason, and we're going to talk about the Bills versus the Rams. What did you think of the game?
Yeah, so taking a look into the game, obviously a lot of thoughts. I'll get into those a little bit later when we go over the takeaways or the takeaways, from the game against the Rams, the Bills victory 35 to 32. Taking a look at that game, though, initial trigger thoughts. Obviously, the Tyler Kroft interception is one. Number two, I'd have to say would be something revolving Josh Allen, and I'm not sure if it was if you call it dispute or ongoing issues with the referees that game. I'm not sure exactly what happened. I'll dive into that a bit here in a second here. And then the Aaron Donald missed face mask call, which seemed to be something that's going on. And I think I've mentioned before a couple weeks ago on the show about the way that Josh is treated by the referees, just due to the fact that he's a mobile quarterback and can run around and take hits, and he likes to chatter, I guess you could say as well. But yeah, the Tyler Kroft interception. At no point in the moment, or even after the game, throughout the week, up until this very second, here at 11:43 p.m. at night, do I think that was not a catch? At least not an interception, but definitely I think is a catch after seeing the replay. I don't think there's any offensive pass interference there as well. I took a look. Allen launched the ball like he does. He launched a missile out to Tyler Kroft. I think it was about 40, 45 yard, maybe 40, 45 air yards. So it was considered a deep ball. Kroft had his hands by the back of the quarterback. However, he was going to play the ball, it looked like. I don't think that he actually – there was not a full extension of the arm. So that's really how the rule is written down or broken down as far as I'm concerned, or even aware of regarding NFL officiating. If there's a full extension of the arms at that point, that's when you're going to see a flag thrown, right? And Mike Pereira broke that down for us as well. I didn't see a full extension. I did see a little lateral movement. However, I don't remember seeing anything that was full extension where he's pushing off and you're seeing force put onto the defender there. The defender was also making a play on the ball as well. It looks like Allen threw a nice ball right over the defender's head, right over his out of his reach, out of his hands. And at that point, Tyler Kroft high-pointed the ball, made a nice catch, and that was it. I saw Kroft come down with the ball. I saw him have clear possession. I saw the second defender, the intercepting defender on that play, go ahead and try and make a play on the ball as Kroft was already coming down with it. They went to the ground. At no point did that defender have not only possession, but even close possession on that play. Tyler Kroft went down with the ball. He had possession that should have been a throw, a nice throw, a beautiful deep throw, and a catch, and that should have been a nice 45, 50-yard gainer. So I think we got cheated out there, right? That's the sad thing about that. That's kind of when the momentum changed in the game. That's when you started to see I don't even want to call them mistakes. It just seems stagnant. Our defense is getting ran over after that to that point, and that continued throughout the rest of the game. I don't remember them making any big stops after that, and if they did, we didn't capitalize on offense at that point. So, taking a look into that, any other issues though, I didn't see an ongoing issue with Josh Allen, and I went back and watched a good portion of the game, but I can't focalize or set out a certain point where Josh was being vocally loud with the referees other than the penalty that he got, which I think is a result of what I'm describing here. I think because Josh is a mobile running quarterback, and because of the fact that he likes to jabber back and forth, he's a football player, he's a big guy, he's a leading quarterback, he's a leader in a locker room, leader on a team, and the new leader of a franchise over the course of the last couple of years, and has cemented himself as that now. He's going to be vocal. He's going to open his mouth. He's going to talk trash with the best of them. He's done it. We've seen it in games. He lets his play speak for itself. When he's off the field, when he's on the field, however, anything is fair game. So I like to see what Josh is doing there. I do think, however, it's hampering the referees. I think he may be opening his mouth to referees because he's getting, it seems like, body slammed on some of these hits over the course of the last 3 years. But because he's a mobile quarterback, almost as you'll see with Lamar Jackson as well, where you'll see penalties called on for Tom Brady. I just don't bring it up because it's Patriots Day. I bring it up as an example. For Tom Brady or Phillip Rivers, or when Eli Manning was in the league, Joe Flacco, guys that aren't mobile and don't move around, so it's unorthodox and it's not mundane to see them be able to see them take hits. So flags are thrown. But when you see guys like Josh who's running defenders over, trucking through, I think the referees assume, all right, this guy's a loudmouth, on top of the fact that and I'm not saying Josh's a loudmouth. I love his garbage talk. It's just what I feel like maybe the perception he's getting between the referees. But he can take hits. We're not going to throw a flag, and I think that's unfair. It's not being fairly governed. I had small thoughts of that in the first year and the second year, and now I'm convinced of it at this point. And I share it to whoever wants to listen, right? So yeah, I think that's part of that. That's also where you see the Aaron Donald face mask not being called. That's just a blatant miss by the referees on top of the many that we saw from that game. On top of the fact that they threw a flag on Josh for arguing the call on, I believe it was that face mask. It may have been the horse collar he was referring to when Donald grabbed him down by his nameplate, which, by the way, is a penalty. We've seen that. We saw it in the Chiefs game this year, in the first game of the year, Thursday Night Football, where if you're pulled down by your nameplate, anything around that collar, that is a flag. That's a horse collar tackle. They didn't call that. I think Josh argued it just a little bit too much, or maybe they had given him a couple warnings before that. They threw a flag. So I don't think Josh got the fair end of the stick. He definitely got the short end of the stick that game, I'd say. Obviously, he's the one with a sinister laugh after the game for taking that victory and bringing this franchise to 3-0 at this point, heading into 4-0. But yeah, I think Josh was not given such a fair shake in that game. I'm happy the kid was able to dug it out and put on one of his best games to date, which it seems like every week now, Robbie, we're talking about, all right, his best game today. And then to see that week after week is awesome. I'm so excited because I've loved Josh since we drafted him. I'll admit in the first 30 seconds, I remember maybe a full minute after we drafted him, I was like, oh, I wish we would have got Rosen. I thought this we were getting Josh Allen can't play. And then immediately, like a light switch, it switched, and I was all on Josh Allen train. I watched the kid play. I see something special in him. I love the way the kid balls out. I just hope the referees can follow suit and get on the Josh Allen train like we've been. What are your thoughts on those interceptions on that one interception, air quotes, by the way. What are your thoughts on those, Robbie, on the calls against Josh?
That one where with Tyler Croft, that wasn't an interception because he actually had the ball like close to his chest.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying, essentially. I don't think that the defender had his hands on the ball at any point. Maybe he had his hands on the ball. I guess that's the wrong way to state it. He had his hands on the ball. I don't think he had Ty goes to the runner, right? We saw it, and I believe it was a Packer. Yes, it was. It was a Packer-Seahawks game. I believe it was in the playoffs. I could be wrong on that. It may have been like a Sunday Night Football game where who was it? Might have been – was it Clinton Dix? Not sure if it was Clinton Dix, but I think it may have been Clinton Dix that came down with the ball with Golden Tate, right? And they gave the tie to the runner when it was clearly an interception. And I could be saying this completely wrong, but I'm almost certain I'm right. Golden Tate came down with the ball, or at least they said he had, but it looked like an interception. They gave the tie to the runner. Seahawks win, last play of the game. Game's over. Packers fans were pissed. So, yeah, I think Ty goes to the runner. On top of the fact that, the three things I mentioned, the defender had no angle of the ball. There was no offensive pass interference, and the last defender also, it was a clean catch. He had his hands on the ball going down, but Croft had already assumed possession at that point and ascertained possession to the point where that should have been a catch, a 45, 50-yard bomb. And yeah, I don't really agree with that fully either. If you had a couple three takeaways that you had, Robbie, from the game.
Josh Allen, that unsportsmanlike call was not a good call. And then that missed horse collar tackle.
Right.
And that face mask call that wasn't called.
Yeah, and we saw, I think it was actually in the moment, I really wasn't paying too much attention. I was pretty sure we were taking a loss there, which I didn't expect after the first half when we came out rolling, looking like the year the Patriots went undefeated on the way to the Super Bowl to take one big giant loss. Giants fans. But yeah, we looked great in the first half. After that being said, I was kind of trying to focus on the game more, but seeing a picture come out on Twitter after of Aaron Donald's, you got Josh's face mask here. Aaron Donald's hand is clearly clamped on the bottom of it. It should have been an easy flag, easy 15 yards or whatnot, and an automatic first down. And we didn't get that call. So, yeah, if I had to take a couple takeaways from the game, I think Josh played very, very well. If we just take a look at his stats just from last week alone, right? So 24 of 33 for 311 yards, 4 touchdowns on the ground, and not interception, and a rushing touchdown as well. So a total of 5 touchdowns in that game for Josh. He also had 4 rushes on the ground for 8 yards. Whenever he didn't have to run much, he still killed them through the air and in that game in general. So 72.7 completion percentage. Okay, and for the year, if we're taking a look here for Josh, he's only had 1 game under 70%. It's only been 3 games, but 1 game under 70% completion percentage. So you got the first game at 71.74, second game 68.57, which is still phenomenal. Drew Brees territory there, maybe vintage Drew Brees, not now, but and then this last game, like I said, 72.73% for the completion percentage for the grand total that you've got of 71.1%. That is top 10 in the league. That is amazing right now. Josh also got 1,038 yards through the air, 10 touchdowns, an interception, and a total of 2 rushing touchdowns. So I'm pretty pumped to see Josh. He's carrying in from game to game, killing it, doing what he needs to do to get this team a win, and looking good doing it. So excited to see this next game coming up. If I got one more takeaway from that, obviously, I've spoken about the Josh Allen, I guess the mistreatments from the ref. At this point, I'm going to call it a bias of some sort. I also thought that Tyler Kroft, man, I loved it. I actually called for his signing. Him and TJ Yeldon were 2 guys I called for in the off seasons last year when we signed them. I was like, you know what, Tyler Kroft, I've seen him play in Cincinnati a little bit here, especially with Tyler Eifert having the injuries that he had throughout his career. And I was excited to see him come here, and we got a pretty good deal, I thought. What he was making, $5, $6, $7 million a year was pretty good for a guy that was brought here to be a starter. And I think he showed us this last game that he has the ability to do that. He's athletic, he's big, he can block, he can run routes, he can high point balls like he did in that interception. I promise we'll do the air quotes anymore, but on the interception, it looks like he can high point a ball. He can make plays. He had the game winning touchdown with a nice throw by Josh. Obviously a little out. It looked like possibly out of the reach of hands. Maybe it could have been a foot or so closer, but that was a perfectly thrown ball. There's nowhere else to go. You got a defender leaping up to make a play on the game-winning play, the last play of the game, and Kroft makes a nice catch. Allen's got a nice, beautiful little touch pass, just over the defender's outreached arms, and Kroft makes a diving catch. It was beautiful. I'll tell you what, if I had to label a takeaway on that, it'd be that I think it's the Tyler Kroft show. I think we got really excited for Dawson Knox this year, but I think it's the Tyler Kroft show going forward. I picked him up in fantasy in all my leagues that I could. So if that doesn't say that I back what I say here and I back my words, that's it. But yeah, we'll go ahead and take a dive now. I want to get some time here to talk about the second half of our show. So we're going to dive here into the second half. Now, taking a look there, Robbie, I did want to take a look at the Raiders game we got coming up here. Only the second game in I believe it's Allegiant Stadium. Only the second game in the new dome, in the black hole, the Death Star. So that's exciting. Let's hope we can hand them a loss. The first one was a win for them. Let's hope we can hand them a loss and go 4-0 here. You got some keys to victory here, Robbie? What do you got? Maybe 2 or 3 keys you got to victory for this Buffalo Bills football team this week?
Maybe like Josh Allen could like hopefully like Trey Edmonds is healthy to go, and Matt Milano, and like the defense could be good, and then like the offensive line and like the run game.
Yeah, I think getting the running game going is probably a big thing that we're waiting to see here. Pat McAfee actually was talking on his show, and it almost showed. I love Pat McAfee, but it clearly showed that he just was following the general media perception without doing his research, without watching any highlights, watching any of the Bills games, even a quarter or a series. He had said that he attributed a lot of the success for the Bills to the running game. That's just not true. I believe right now, I could be wrong, but they're ranked around 26th and 28th in the league in the run. That's god awful. That's bottom 5 in the league essentially. So taking a look at that, I'd like to see them get going. I think Zach Moss did hamper the run game a little bit here with not being able to play. Obviously not being in, but not being able to play in the Rams game. However, I do think that Devin Singletary held his own. If we're taking a look here at what Devin Singletary did, he was used as a multi-purpose back at that point. He had some catches, a couple targets. He also had some yards in the ground there. So I was happy to see that. I was happy to see we saw some vintage Devin Singletary, a couple misses, a couple jukes, broke off a couple 10 to 15 yarders, it looked like. And that was nice. So if we're taking a look here just at what Dev did in that game, though, regarding the run, right? So this year he does have 32 rushes for 157 yards, 4.9 on the ground. Can't blame him. That's good. You know, you can have a low-ranked run game. I think a lot of it is just the fact that they're not running the ball out because Josh Allen is carving defenses up with his arm. Like I said, 32 rushes, 157 yards, no touches yet. 25 fantasy points for those fantasy friends we got out there. I love fantasy football, but yeah, if we're going from game to game, take a look here at the receiving that he brings into the game as well. He had 5 targets for 4 catches for 50 yards last week. That's good. That's a solid 9-point fantasy week. To mention that. However, that's solid. You know, you can't ask much more of your running back, right? He's not a Derrick Henry. He's not a guy that's gonna run it up the gut a lot. He's just not the type of guy. He's not Zach Moss. I mean, Zach Moss can obviously catch out of the backfield. He's shown us a little bit of that so far in his short 2-game career he's played so far out of 3. But yeah, Dev is more that guy you're going to be able to. You can swing the ball to him on wheel routes. You can check down to him, obviously. And you can give him the ball. My thing with Dev is it's a guy I don't want to see him running up the middle ever. I mean, it's not that he doesn't do well there, and I guess never is maybe a little harsh, but not much. I want to see you giving him the ball in space. He is a guy that you want to get the ball in space. He's much like CEH up in Kansas City, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I think it's Helaire. We heard that about a million times on Monday night, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire, it's a guy that you want to get in space. Very similar to Devin Singletary. I would say Helaire is a little bit more faster, a little bit more explosive, obviously being he was the first-round pick and a hell of a talent out of LSU and what he's done with the Chiefs so far this year. But I want to get Singletary in space. We saw him last year in Pittsburgh and in Denver. Many games we saw where Singletary, if you can get him in space, even if he's got space where he's got 2 guys in front of him, I'm thinking he's going to make them miss. And if the first down is 5 yards behind those guys, he's going to fall at least 5 yards after those guys to try and get the first down for us. So I'd like to see the running game get going a little bit more as well, if need be, right? I don't care about – at the end of the day, what I care about is W's and L's, right? No ties, but W's and L's. I don't want to see if we've got this – because think about all those years, Robbie. All those years we had a great running team. We were the running team. We had Shady McCoy leading the charge. How many of those years did we make the playoffs? 1. When McDermott came to town, and we rode Shady all the way to the playoffs, and then when he got banged up in the playoffs, what happened? We scored almost no points, and we lost that game. So no touchdowns in that game either, I believe, 10-3. But either way, yeah, I'd like to see the running game get going. Maybe another thing I'd like to see here in this game would be Trey Edmonds and Matt Milano, and I'd like to really see – I'm going to hammer down on this. This defense needs to be better. I get we played a decent team. I wouldn't even give them that. We played a good team. It was better than decent, above average team in Los Angeles. And the defense seemed to play well in the first half. And then they just completely crumbled and fell apart. And this Bills team is known for one thing. If you can take one negative out of the way they've been playing over the course of the last 2 years, it's that third quarter. That third quarter is a killer for the Bills. We need to be better. And honestly, I'm surprised with Sean McDermott team that they're not playing hard every single play. I noticed there's singular players that do, and something just happens. I don't know if it's maybe complacency, which obviously is not valid. You don't have that in professional sports, but I can't give you the answer. It just needs to be better, and I can bet you that if I'm saying it and we're talking about it, Robbie, that Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott are hammering down on it like hell too. So I'd like to see the defense play better, play a good solid 4 quarters, see a good effort. I'd like to see Saron Neal fill in for Taron Johnson. I thought Taron Johnson, and I like the guy because he's a McDermott guy. He works hard. He tries hard, plays hard. But I really need to see something better out of that slot position. You're not going to go against guys. And even with Henry Ruggs most likely being out this week, Hunter Renfrow is no slump. He's no scrub. He came from a Clemson football program that won national championships. He won a national championship with Deshaun Watson. I believe he actually caught the winning touchdown against Alabama in that national championship. He is Cole Beasley's junior. He's essentially a little mini Cole Beasley, and the kid is a hell of a player. So if you let him go unchecked, he's very much like a Julian Edelman and a Cole Beasley, where he will roast and he will carve and he will kill you. And with that being that, Derek Carr, that being said, Derek Carr is more of a check down guy, right? He's not a deep ball guy. He likes to check down quite a bit. Not sure the percentages there, but I know just from listening to the podcast I listened to, Joe Marino over at Lockdown Bills, he's quite a check down guy. And I've noticed it from watching. He's not a deep ball guy. He's not quite Tyrod. He'll take chances, but he's not going to take a lot of chances downfield. So we need to watch check down. We need to watch a guy like Josh Jacobs who can carve this defense up with his feet and with his hands through the air. couple things I'd like to look out for, obviously, and maybe see if those are some things we can avoid, or at least temperament. It's not like we're trying to stop Barry Sanders here. It's Josh Jacobs. He's a hell of a player, but he's beatable, especially with a defense that was a top 5 defense, essentially, in my opinion, in the last 3 years. So, yeah, we just need to be better at the end of the day on defense. And I guess that's what I have for the game. That being said, I do want to dig into the injury report a little bit here. It's quite an injury report, and it's not. Initially, I thought, all right, it's just the Raiders that are injured. We're going to get lucky here. Not the case. We have some guys that are banged up here too. I'm not sure on what their game statuses are. One guy I'm really concerned about is John Brown. So if I'm going to go over the Bills injury report here, it's John Brown, D-Docs, Deion Dawkins, Tremaine Edmonds is on that report again. Jake Fromm, who we're not really worried about. More than likely, he's not going to be active on games anyways. Micah Hyde, Quentin Jefferson, Dawson Knox, Zach Moss, Ed Oliver, Big Ed, and Delshon Phillips, that linebacker again. More of a depth piece and a special teams piece, but nonetheless an important piece of this football team, like all the players. John Brown did not practice today. D-Docs did not practice today. Micah Hyde did not practice today. Quentin Jefferson did not practice today. Delshon Phillips did not practice today. Guys who had limited practice was Trey Edmonds, so that's good to see. Obviously, he played. He had an emerging game. He played very well, I would say, for a guy that was nursing an injury in the last game last week. Taking a look there, we had a full practice from Dawson Knox, so expect to see him back. Cleared out concussion protocol this week, so long as that happens. Zach Moss had a limited practice, and Ed Oliver had a limited practice. Those guys are going to be huge. That last guy I just mentioned there, Ed Oliver, is going to be huge. He needs to be in this game. We need to see Zach Moss in this game. We need to have a mix-up here. But with that toe injury, that scares me a little bit, especially if it evolves into something that we didn't maybe see it was at first. So that we need to get that taking a look at here and figure something else out here. If not, TJ Eldon, I do have faith in, but Zach Moss is a different type of player. He's going to run up the middle and play smash mouth football, and that's what we need. Trey Edmonds, I do expect him to play again. We need to see John Brown, Deion Dawkins, Zach Moss, and Ed Oliver play. Those are the big guys. My top 3 guys I need to see play is John Brown, D-Docs, and Ed Oliver. Ed Oliver to stop the run, to play smash mouth football, get to Derek Carr, chase him down, make his life hell, and at the same time, keep that line of scrimmage, define that line of scrimmage, build that line of scrimmage, dominate that line of scrimmage, and stop Josh Jacobs from running all over us. D-Docs to block for Josh, give him opportunities to create plays. He's a playmaker, that's what he does. And John Brown to eat up on that young secondary and eat up on that I would say at this point inexperienced growing defense. But yeah, and if we take a look over here at the Raiders, obviously, I'd like to get your take though on as far as who are the players you'd like to see play for the Bills. Obviously, you'd like to see all that are injured play for the Bills, but if you had to pick 2 players out of those injuries I just gave you, Robbie, to play for the Bills that are going to be essential in this game, who would they be?
Zach Moss and John Brown.
Why do you think that?
Because John Brown is like Josh Allen's kind of go-to guy, except for Stephon Diggs. And then Zach Moss is like he can run the ball up the middle and get like the first down if we're in short yardage, or if we're in the end zone, he can punch it in to get the score.
Right, yeah, I agree wholeheartedly on that, Robbie. So, like I said, hopefully those are guys we can see play. Those are 2 of my top 4. I did have Zach Moss on the outside of the top 3, though. I think D-Docs, with that being the veteran and being the star on the line. Next, obviously, him and Mitch Morse both being stars, but D-Docs being the newly signed tackle there, franchise left tackle. And then also having John Brown, as you said, the go-to guy, but more importantly, having Ed Oliver play to stuff that run and get to Derek Carr and create hell. So I was drafted 9th overall. I want to see it. I've seen it in games, and I want to see it again here against the Raiders here. Taking a look at the other side of things, this is where it gets kind of interesting. So it's going to take me probably 16 years to read off this injury report because of all the names on there, but taking a look here, and they're big names too. So you've got Jonathan Abram, that's that star safety they drafted, that young guy they love. Big loudmouth guy we saw on over there on the HBO special, Hard Knocks, from last year, before obviously everything kind of went haywire for them with AB. We won't speak his name on here, but AB. Damon Arnett. It's one of their cornerbacks, one of their starting cornerbacks, big guy. Their tackle, Trent Brown. Wide receiver, Brian Edwards. Wide receiver, Rico Gafford. Guard/tackle, Denzel Good. Jonathan Hankins, defensive tackle. Alec Ingold, fullback. Josh Jacobs is on there as well. He had a full practice, but he's on there. Corey Littleton's on there for a limited practice. Just to name a couple names, I'm not going to name them all because there's so many on here. Henry Ruggs did not practice. Looks like he's not going to play. That's going to be something that's going to help us out quite a bit here. Obviously, Godspeed to his recovery, but that's going to be something that's going to help us out here. And then if you take a look here, Darren Waller was a full practice as well, but he's on there as well. Sam Young, the tackle. John Simpson, the guard. Daniel Ross, the defensive tackle. Corey Littleton's a big one, too. He had a limited practice. That's one of their linebackers they really like a lot. Very similar to a Matt Milano. He's able to run down, chase down guys, and cover tight ends and do things that maybe not all linebackers can. So taking a look here, limited practice from John Abrams. Okay, Damon Arnett did not practice for that wrist thumb. He's going to see a specialist. I'm not sure if the report came on that yet. Brian Edwards, that's another starting wide receiver. So, Brian, you've got two of their starting wide receivers out of a very already weak, with Tyrell Williams missing out in the year and obviously deciding to take that choice and opt out for the year just for the safety of himself and his family, which is obviously well within his rights, and we support him in that decision. But yeah, with him being out, you've got Brian Edwards, who's the young rookie, who's looked impressive in camp at least, in scrimmage and whatnot, and early on in the season. But he's one of their starting wide receivers on the outside. He's out. Henry Ruggs is their star slot rookie coming out, that speedster from Alabama. He's going to be out most likely with a hamstring and a knee issue. So we need to take advantage of those, right? Of those issues. We know that at that point you're going to see a lot of running from Josh Jacobs, and that's if he plays again. Of course, he's on the injury report, but I don't think it's really that serious. It looks like it's a hip knee issue, but he was a full participant at practice today, and I'm assuming he'll be going forward. So I imagine he will play, but limiting him. You need to be able to. You have the ability with the team that they're going to put out the group they're going to put out wide receiver to be able to double team and even sometimes triple team Josh Jacobs and just make sure you eat that up and bring pressure. So what I want to see is a lot of blitzing. I want to see a lot of blitzing. Every other play type of lot of blitzing. So bringing pressure to Derek Carr, forcing him to make those checkdowns that he always makes, or maybe even forcing him to take chances. Either way, forcing the ball in general from Derek Carr is good, and eating up Josh Jacobs, getting him to him early, not letting him get those big runs. I don't even want to see 3-4 yard chunk plays because guess what? 3 times 3, it's 9, right? It's a yard. 4th and 1, you go for it, you get it. 3 times 4, that's 12, right? You got a first down. So we need to be able to eat him up. I want to see tackles for loss galore this week, like a feast, like a buffet. On top of that, like I said, I want to see good coverage. I know our quarterbacks are a little bit up in the air right now, other than Trey White obviously being the starter, who I'd like to see play a better game as well. I think he's struggled a tad bit the last 2 games, so I'd like to see a better game out of him. He's made some plays, obviously, but just a little bit better, obviously. But, what am I to say? Trey White's the best corner we've had in years. So, but yeah, taking a look there, I think we need to take advantage of that injury report. What are your thoughts on if you could see maybe one benefit to this injury report? What position group do you think we're getting the biggest advantage in this week?
I think we would benefit from like having the secondary injuries.
Yeah, right. You got Jonathan Abrams and Damon Arnett, right? That's a huge deal. Abram is one of those guys that flies around here. It reminds me a lot of a hybrid between a Jordan Poyer with the intensity and Jamal Adams with the sheer playmaking ability and talent. So having a guy like that on the field, I mean, think of what our defense would look like without Jordan Poyer on the field, right? It'd suffer. It'd be possibly a few slots back from where it's at now. So without his fierceness and talent and what he brings to the game, right? Damon Arnett being one of their starting cornerbacks, having a starting cornerback out, it's not looking good, Robbie. You're gonna have a guy who's already a younger guy still trying to make his way in the league. Yes, he can make plays. Yes, he can cover wide receivers, but you're not going to have Damon Arnett and Stephon Diggs now. To be honest, I have to look it up and tell you who's going to be on Stephon Diggs because I don't think they're going to be able to do double teams anymore because they can't run man-to-man on the wide receivers. If John Brown plays, that's it. Call it right there. Can't cover those guys. You can't cover Steph Diggs. It's ridiculous. So, sheer of a miracle in both of those players playing. I think you're going to see an air raid offense. I think you're going to see Josh creep up, if not go over again 400 yards, smack a couple of other touchdowns up there. maybe throw get a between 69 and a 73% completion rating, and call it a day and keep that MVP trophy intact and in eyesight, and then right on the other side of the hill and have those blinders on, and keep that on his resume. And it's just going to be him and Russell Wilson going back and forth for the next couple weeks here before we got a really tough one coming up. So up in week 6, I won't even mention it yet. We'll get into that, a couple weeks from now. Hopefully we're going to that game 5-0, but I'm thinking we're going to come out of this one 4-0. If I had to give my prediction here, I'm going to say it's not a high-scoring game. I think the Bills still struggle in the third quarter. I don't know what it is yet until I see it change. I can't predict against it. I can't predict it's not going to happen. So I'm going to take a guess here. I'm going to go with Bills winning this game 35. Again, another 35. But this time I think it's going to be the defense showing up and playing some ball. 35-17. It's going to be a handed victory handily. It's going to be a good game. It's a John Gruden coach football team, so they're solid. But I predict 35-17 here. Couple, maybe a garbage time touchdown for the Raiders, but for most of the game, it's going to be around 28-10, 35-10. It's going to be in hand. This time they're going to hold on to that lead instead of losing it and having to win last second. What's your prediction for the game, Robbie?
I'm going to go with a 28-21 win for the Bills.
Oh, why so close?
Because I think maybe Josh Allen might, throw one pick somewhere if he throws the ball too far from somebody else and the defender's like right there.
So bang bang play. Gotcha.
and the defender might make the play on the ball, and then I think maybe we'll get a last second touchdown somewheres.
Okay, yeah, I could definitely see that happening. There's any number of scenarios that can go on here, but for now, let's hope for the best. Go Bills. So let's hope for the best here. I'm thinking, like I said, it's going to be more of a higher scoring game on the Bills side of things, but a lower scoring game on the opponent side of things, which is something you hope for every week. This could all change if all these guys somehow have their hands laid on them by or have God's hands laid on them or Jesus' hands laid on them to be able to come here and play in this game. We could be talking about something different. At that point, my prediction changes. But for right now, it's 35-17. Bills handily win. Josh Allen pads the MVP stats again. We see a big game out of Steph Diggs. So for now, this is Let's Talk 716 Sports. That's Robbie Bowler. Follow him at Robbie39Bowler. This is Jason. I'm Jason, your host. Follow me at J Don't Fade. Again, that's J Don't Fade. Don't fade the bet. That's Let's Talk 716 Sports. You have a good day. Bye.